first thing I am going to talk about is lumber prices. Hey, listen, so Ben and I, obviously, we cannot control lumber prices or building costs. That is something that is going to, continue to float, be variable, especially when we get into turbulent economic conditions. But here's the one thing I will tell you. I built my house in 1996, and I built for about $100 a square foot. That's not going to happen anymore. So, right. So the one thing I look at when I'm looking at a package for someone, when it comes to lumber prices, there may be some short-term things, or even your subcontractor costs that Ben and I cannot control. And so we have to look at it as a relativity standpoint for you. In other words, hey, if you're building this house and you think you're going to turn around and try to sell it in 2 or 3 years because you're transient in your job, maybe you're kind of in a step-up community, you want to be somewhere else. You really want to be thinking, is this the best thing for you? It may not be, okay, because prices have escalated, and you could see a drop in resources if we get into a deep recession. So I don't know how, Ben, if you feel, but I already feel that we're in a recession. GDP numbers came out yesterday. That to me is a trigger, even now, technically, we are now in a recession because you've got 2 consecutive quarters, but we are in a recessionary environment, to my belief. And you could see lumber prices drop a little bit, but I wouldn't look at making a decision over variables that neither you nor Ben nor I can control. So we look at relativity. Ben, do you want to address anything you can think about, building costs and what you see?
I think you nailed it on the head there. Thinking about building costs, I guess I may take this just a slightly different route, but I think it does relate. John and I are familiar with looking at sworn statements. We analyze them, we read them. And one of the biggest things that we see when you present a sworn statement to us, whether it be a contracted or a do-it-yourself construction loan where the customer acts as the general contractor, it corresponds with cost, is that labor is not being added to specific line items. And John, does Dart Bank, you guys do DIYs as well, right?
We do not. So we're going to talk about that. I actually just made that a second. I'm going to bring that up because you're giving us a segue. So let's talk about acting as your own general contractor.